It was last autumn when I decided to take a vacation in a picturesque small town, wanting to escape the city's noise and work stress temporarily. Through Airbnb, I found a beautiful holiday home located on the edge of a tranquil forest. The host had high ratings and the pictures were enticing. So without hesitation I booked it. The day I arrived at the town, the sun was shining, and the air was filled with the scent of trees. Following the host's instructions, I found the path leading to the holiday home. It was a narrow gravel path lined with tall pine trees, which made it seem a bit eerie but also added to its mystery. After walking for about 10 minutes, I saw the house. It was as beautiful as in the photos, with a wooden structure that looked cozy and rustic. I parked the car in front of the house and used the key provided by the host to open the door. The interior was very comfortable, with every detail showing a thoughtful touch. The living room was spacious and bright, with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the dense forest. The kitchen was well equipped, and the bedroom had a soft carpet and clean bed. I smiled with satisfaction, feeling that I had made a wise choice. After putting down my luggage, I decided to go into town to buy some essentials. The townspeople were very friendly, and the atmosphere was peaceful and serene. I quickly bought food and other supplies and returned to the house by dusk. The setting sun filtered through the treetops, giving everything a golden glow. After dinner, I sat in the living room, admiring the view outside through the floor-to-ceiling windows. As night fell, the forest became dark and mysterious. I turned on the TV to relax, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The unease lingered, so I decided to go to bed early. That night, I kept hearing strange sounds, like someone walking outside the house. I told myself it was just the wind rustling the leaves, but I couldn't help feeling scared. The next morning, I checked around and found nothing unusual. In the afternoon, while walking in the forest, I discovered a hidden path. Curiosity led me along the path until I came to an abandoned cabin. The cabin looked like it hadn't been inhabited for many years, with its doors and windows in disrepair. I pushed open the door and saw the interior was covered in dust and cobwebs, clearly neglected. Just as I was about to leave, I noticed some strange equipment in the corner that looked like surveillance devices. A sense of unease washed over me. Why would there be surveillance equipment here? And these devices were clearly modern, not something left from years ago. On closer inspection, I found that these devices were connected to some concealed wiring, seemingly leading somewhere. Back at the holiday home, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. That night, the sense of being monitored intensified. I decided to thoroughly check the house for anything unusual. Starting in the living room, I searched inch by inch until I reached the floor-to-ceiling window. Suddenly, I noticed some strange marks on the window frame, as if it had been tampered with. Using my phone's flashlight, I inspected closely and discovered a faint crack at the edge of the window glass. Suspicious, I knocked on the glass and realized it was double-paned, with the inner pane looking peculiar. A terrifying thought crossed my mind: could this be a one-way mirror? I hurried outside to observe the window from the outside. Sure enough, from the outside, the interior was completely invisible, while from the inside, everything outside was crystal clear. An indescribable fear gripped me. I returned inside and continued my search for more clues. Eventually, I found a hidden camera behind the wardrobe in the bedroom. The camera was pointed directly at the bed, clearly monitoring my every move. Feeling nauseated and furious, I immediately unplugged the camera. I knew I couldn't stay there any longer and had to leave immediately. I quickly packed my bags and fled the house. On the drive away, I kept looking back, feeling like someone was watching me from the shadows. Back in the city, I contacted Airbnb customer service and detailed my experience. They promised to investigate and contact the host. But a few days later, the response I received was disappointing. Airbnb merely told me they had contacted the host, who denied any surveillance equipment, stating it was a misunderstanding. Unconvinced, I started searching for more information. I found an old review online mentioning a similar situation, but the reviewer's account had been deleted. I tried to contact the reviewer but received no reply. This incident severely damaged my trust in Airbnb and made me more cautious. Since then, I've never dared to vacation alone in remote places. Even now, the feeling of being watched haunts me, making it hard to sleep at night. This experience has become a permanent shadow in my life, reminding me to stay vigilant and not to easily trust the seeming peace and beauty of unfamiliar places. In the fall of 2019, I decided to take a solo trip to Atlanta to escape the busy work and daily stress temporarily. Known for its rich history and cultural attractions, Atlanta seemed like the perfect place for a relaxing vacation. I booked a one-bedroom apartment through Airbnb located in the city center. The host had great reviews, and the photos looked to pillage and seemed like an ideal place to stay. I arrived in Atlanta on a sunny afternoon. Following the host's instructions, I found the apartment building without any trouble. The apartment was on a relatively quiet street surrounded by many restaurants and cafes, creating a pleasant environment. I retrieved the key from the lockbox and entered the apartment. The interior was modern, clean, and tidy, just as shown in the photos. After unpacking, I decided to have dinner at a nearby restaurant. The streets were bustling with people and brightly lit, making me feel relaxed and happy. After enjoying a delicious meal, I walked back to the apartment to rest and plan my activities for the next day. As night fell, the apartment became quiet. Just as I was about to sleep, I heard a soft knock on the door. It was late, and I felt uneasy. I hesitated for a moment before walking to the door and peeking through the peephole. A stranger stood outside, dressed normally, holding a piece of paper. He claimed to be sent by the host with some documents that needed my signature. My instincts kicked in, and alarm bells went off in my head. The host hadn't mentioned anyone coming by, and the timing was odd. I tried to stall for time, while I texted the host to confirm the situation. However, the host didn't respond immediately, leaving me feeling anxious. After a few minutes of stalling, the man outside finally left. I breathed a sigh of relief, but the sense of unease lingered. To ensure my safety, I checked all the doors and windows, confirming they were locked before deciding to sleep early. The following morning, the host responded, clearly stating that no one had been sent to my apartment. This heightened my sense of caution, realizing that the visitor from last night had no legitimate reason to be there. I started to suspect that I was being watched. Despite the unsettling events, I decided to continue with my travel plans. That day, I visited several well-known attractions, trying to relax. However, the feeling of unease stayed with me. When I returned to the apartment, I decided to check its security once more. This time, I noticed some dirt marks near the window, indicating that someone might have tried to open it from the outside. A chill ran down my spine as I realized that someone might have attempted to break into the apartment. I immediately contacted the host and reported the incident to the police. The police arrived quickly and inspected the area but found nothing unusual. They advised me to stay vigilant and gave me some safety tips. That night, I decided to stay in the apartment and not go out. I turned on all the lights to feel safer. However, in the middle of the night, I heard the knocking again, this time more urgent. My heart raced, and my palms began to sweat. I grabbed my phone, ready to dial 911. But first, I looked through the peephole. The same man stood outside, looking even more desperate. Fear gripped me as I called 911, explaining my address and the situation. The operator told me to stay calm and informed me that the police were on their way. The man outside began pounding on the door, trying to break in. I used all my strength to barricade the door with a chair and table, attempting to keep him out. Meanwhile, I locked myself in the bedroom waiting for the police to arrive. A few minutes later, I heard sirens and hurried footsteps. The commotion outside suddenly stopped, and I heard the police's voice. I quickly removed the barricades and opened the door. Several officers rushed in and checked every room. The man was nowhere to be found, and a search of the surrounding area yielded no results. The police assured me they would increase patrols in the area and suggested that I leave the apartment as soon as possible. I promptly packed my belongings and left the apartment that had filled me with such terror. Once in a safe place, I contacted the host again to inform them of everything that had happened. The host was very apologetic and promised to enhance the apartment's security measures. It was a memorable weekend when I decided to vacation in Barcelona. To experience a more localized stay, I opted for an Airbnb apartment in the heart of a lively neighborhood with plenty of restaurants and shops nearby. The photos portrayed it as spacious, bright, and ideal. Upon arrival, Antonio, the host, warmly welcomed me. He gave me a tour of the apartment, which appeared clean, tidy, and well-equipped. Feeling reassured, especially since it was my first time trying Airbnb abroad, everything seemed to go smoothly. On the first night, after returning to the apartment early due to jet lag, I decided to rest. I closed the curtains, turned on the air conditioning, and prepared for a peaceful night's sleep. However, in the early hours, I was abruptly awakened by a loud noise. My heart raced as this was unexpected. I lay in bed, listening intently, and suddenly heard other sounds within the room, indicating someone was moving quietly. I began to realize it might be a burglary. I lay motionless like a stone, trying to control my breathing, afraid of alerting the intruder. Then, I heard unmistakable movement seen on rummaging through the room. I reached for my phone quietly lying on the nightstand, intending to send an SOS message. But at that moment, the room door creaked open, and I heard a deep voice say, "There's someone here." I froze completely, eyes fixed on the phone screen, trying to find an opportunity. But I couldn't contain my fear, knowing that the intruder was aware of my presence. He approached the bed, and I could sense his presence even though I couldn't see his face. Suddenly, he slowly turned towards me, coming closer to my bedside. I felt a chill, almost hearing my own heartbeat. He didn't speak, but I could feel his gaze searching for me. Uncertain of what would happen next, I could only pray for it to end soon. Suddenly, I heard sirens and shouts from the police. They were here. Relief washed over me, knowing I had a chance to escape. I heard footsteps and then commotion, followed by the sounds of apprehension. In the end, the police arrested the intruder, a local thief who made a living from burglary. The terrifying experience nearly robbed me of the joy of my vacation. However, I was grateful to be safe and gained a more cautious attitude towards selecting Airbnb accommodations.